I'm Tess Aziz. I live in Zurich, but I'm British by nationality. Currently, my role is the global head of client experience for the world's largest wealth manager, based here in Zurich. I run a team of around 15 people. What we do is very global, and it's extremely focused on the luxury end of the market. So everything we do is with the most prestigious locations, hotels, and destinations in the world. So what's really important to me is to ensure that the end result and what the client experiences at the end is something that money can't buy, is something that they will never be able to compare with what anyone else can offer them. So my entire focus in life is on finding the best of the best. My dream job when I was a child was the obligatory movie star, pop star, ballerina dancer. Of course, I wasn't really very good enough at any of those things to go into any of those fabulous careers. I then went through a stage of having absolutely no clue what I was going to do. And that resulted in me joining the Territorial Army for 3 years, where I served as a soldier. Not a very good one, I must admit. After that, I decided it was a chef that I wanted to be, and that's what I qualified in. I did my 3 years training as a chef, and I came out of that thinking there's absolutely no way I want to do this. And finally, I made a decision to go into business, and I did my business degree and joined an investment bank on the graduate training program, and have been in financial services ever since. When I look back now, I realize that all of the things I did have brought me to this point, because what I do is basically entertaining people day in, day out. My clients are by default connoisseurs of food and wine, so what better than to have an in-depth knowledge of gastro, and how better to train for complex global logistics than having served in the armed forces. I was asked the other day, actually, how I judged a general manager of a hotel. My answer was that for me, a good general manager is the one that sees a piece of dirt on the floor of the lobby carpet and he gets down on his hands and knees and he picks it up. Not the one who calls housekeeping and waits for a cleaner to come and take it away. And I kind of lead with that same philosophy, because I believe that being a leader is being a part of a team, but with additional responsibilities. And to have to be able to jump into the high-level management role when it's needed, but to get your hands dirty and be one of the team when it's needed as well. When I go into the office, I look at people. I look at them because I'm so obsessed with knowing how they are personally and whether they're okay. And if they're not, then I feel compelled to address it immediately. And I think that means I get things dealt with quite quickly if there's a problem. And I think the team feels that. And I guess we've all been in situations or in jobs where, whether it's management or colleagues, seem to forget the person underneath of this piece of corporate machinery. And in the end, that person's happiness is your success. To be a passionate and therefore emotional person in business is not to be frowned upon, but especially as a woman, to strike the balance between being seen as a strong, tough, credible businesswoman without doing injustice to your passion and emotion is one of the finest lines you can tread. If we strip away all of our vulnerability, we become cookie-cutter corporate machinery, and nobody likes that, because personality is everything. My personality is what it is, and I've made mistakes before where I've tried to be something I'm not, and that's when you lose big time. So much of what you learn is from failure. So much. Because if you got everything right the first time, you would never change, you would never evolve, you would never adapt, you would never mature. So failure is a necessary part of life. What's important is that you accept it, you own it, you deal with it, and you move on. What is not healthy is retaining it and dwelling on it day in, day out because you failed at something. I have a 6.5-year-old niece who basically is my younger self. The biggest advice I would give to her is not to try to conform to other people's expectations or rule book. And I can say that because I did it a few times. I think I didn't realize when I was my younger self that I was capable of being a success on my own merits. I always thought I have to be a bit different. I have to be more like her or like him, or I have to dress more like that, or I have to behave more like that. Even at one point I had a crisis about what color I was, because am I going to get far being brown? Maybe I should try and not go in the sun. Maybe I should dye my hair blonde and look more Caucasian. You know, I went through all of that, and I think many young people do. But actually what comes out at the end of it, and I can say that credibly now as a almost 40-year-old woman, is that the most success I've ever had is when I've said, I have got to just be me. Take it or leave it, like it or hate it. That's what it is. And I think that's the biggest piece of advice. And don't get too many tattoos. They're not that easy to cover up.